welcome to Two Old Chicks Who Know a Lot of Shit. I'm Wanda Lloyd, and I'm here with my Two Old Chicks podcast partner, Tina McElroy Ansa. Hey, Tina, what's up with you today?
Oh man, I'm feeling good today, Wanda. You know why?
Why?
Well, I got a text from one of my little schoolgirls about COVID tests and being able to order them the day before, and I went ahead and ordered them really quickly, and it was easy, and it was COVID test.gov. And so I said, well, I'm going to send this. So of course I sent it to you, and I sent it to my family, and I would think so often, she knows about this. This is just going to be an old lady, too old chick bothering everybody with all this. I cannot tell you the number of people said, oh, thank you so much. I thank you for thinking of me, people who had already done it. So I feel good because I got all this love back that I didn't even expect from people who appreciated me thinking about them in these times. So,
that's good. Yeah,
your question, I'm doing good.
That's good. I got your note. I think I got it from about 6 other people at the same time. There was just like bing, 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 bing. People are really excited about getting these tests. So I hope as many people are excited about maybe getting the vaccine and the booster, because that's really what we need, right?
That's exactly what we need. We certainly need the test if we're going to move around and try to get back to some kind of sense some kind of sense of normalcy. Right. How you doing today?
I'm feeling good. I'm just, glad to be in our second season and looking forward to a fun conversation with a guest, someone who happens to be one of your little schoolgirls.
It certainly is. It's Sybil Wilkes, everybody's girlfriend in their mind. Everybody who would love to talk to her and pick her brain and know what she's doing and all the rest. And she was truly one of my very first, maybe my second good little schoolgirl. She's a wonderful, wonderful person, a wonderful icon in the business.
Well, so I'm looking forward to.
I'm excited.
I'm looking forward to the conversation. So
me too.
Yeah. So before we go too far, let's just go ahead and check in for our listeners. To check in is a way for us to share some of the things that are happening to these two old chicks, keeping us busy as if we need to be busy, right, Tina?
Oh yeah, we need to be busy. Oh yeah, oh no, I'm serious. Yeah, I had a walking buddy on the beach. People get to walk with the tide, and she would walk. She was like maybe 2 minutes ahead of me. So every day she was walking ahead, and I was in my 50s. And I finally asked her. She had a strong little body, and I asked her finally. We would just nod, not really speak. And I asked her one day. I said, how old are you? Wow, you just look so strong and capable. And she looked me in the eyes like she had known me my whole life and said, "Never stop moving, dear." And I have remembered that and how she said it, and the fact that she was still strong and capable. You know how you see a little body that she could pick up things, she could help herself. So I remember that all the time. Never stop moving, dear.
Okay, well, would that we will be that spry and that strong for a long, long time.
Absolutely.
So well. Before we go too far, let's just go ahead and check in. So I know for me, I'm constantly writing, and I think you are too. Is that right?
Well, Wanda, that's who I am. I'm a writer. That's what That's what I do. I step away and do other things the same way. I think of you as a journalist and as a person who collects news and who's an opinion shaper. No matter how you teach and do other things, that's kind of who you are at your core. And at my core, I'm a writer. So I've been writing and reviewing books. I have mentioned before that I love to review books. It's one of the first kinds of writings I ever did. And the thing that I think about it, I'm happy to do this book because I think as a person of color, and I actually think that I'm gonna mention the ancestors again. The ancestors keep coming up in our program, Wanda, huh? But I really think I owe it to the ancestors who. Some of them couldn't read and write, and those who really learned to read and write and under very, very harsh circumstances. And then those people who publish books. I think I owe it to them to review books that are coming out. I owe it to our ancestors, and I think I owe it to young emerging writers, emerging writers, because you really need the attention. If you don't get reviews, you don't sell as many books. People don't know about it. They go, "Girl, I never know about it. This is her second book. I didn't even hear about her first one." so I think it's a responsibility of all of us, yourself as well. I know you have reviewed books, but I really take it seriously, and I take a responsibility and a duty. And today that really hit me, that it wasn't just that I like to review books, and I get to some promote books that I like, but it was a responsibility and a duty. So I think about that for my writing. So that's kind of what I've been up to. What about
your last published book review? I think was the one, the book Three Girls in Bronzeville by Dawn Turner, and it really encouraged me to read the book, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had a wonderful, actually, a little short book discussion about it, because Wanda came at it from one direction, remember? And I came at it from another. We had different opinions, and then we sort of came together. It's a wonderful thing to, keep literature alive, and it's one of the responsibilities. And I really encourage anybody who wants to write, if you have a newspaper, you can do it online. If you have a wonderful book, and you feel that way about it, review it so the public can read about it. Not necessarily in a newspaper, but on some platform.
Yeah.
What about you? I know you've been writing as well.
Well, I have, and so I got a call or an email or something from the producer of a play about Ida B. Wells, who was a journalist extraordinaire in the 19th century and the early 20th century. She was someone who wrote about lynchings, and she documented a lot of the lynchings and the things that were happening to Black people. This was after slavery in the South. And so the other night I was writing this piece about Ida B. Wells, and I needed some inspiration. And many years ago, back in 1993, I won the Ida B. Wells Award. It was awarded to me because of my work with newspaper diversity. And so something told me.
Can I interrupt you, Wanda? You say you're writing a piece. Can you tell us what you say? You're writing a piece where you're writing
about Ida B. Wells.
Yeah, no.
Okay, so it is the forward to a play. So it'll be in the program for this play about Ida B. Wells, and the play is being produced for Black History Month. So it'll run for 3 or 4 or 5 nights. I don't remember exactly, in the month of February here in Savannah.
In Savannah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I went and got my Ida B. Wells statue off the shelf, off the mantle, and brought it to the kitchen where I was working at the table and put it in front of me. And I said, I need some inspiration for this story. So I had done all my reading and all my research, and I had all my notes there. And I will tell you, when I set that thing in front of me, Tina, the words just came pouring out of my fingers and onto the computer. So it really helped.
Really? So we're gonna keep Miss Ida B. Wells close to us when we're writing. That's wonderful.
That's what I need.
I saw the picture that you had, that you posted of her. The award is beautiful. We will have to post a picture of it when we do the YouTube of this episode. But it's just a stunning piece, and the way that Wanda had it, it was like she was Miss Wells was facing her like nose to nose. But also, Wanda, you can't forget that Miss Wells also has a Barbie doll, has a new doll.
I saw that. Yeah. That's really good, because when we were little, gosh, I don't remember if we had Barbie dolls when I was little, but
they didn't have Barbies.
I don't think so. But my daughter had Barbie dolls, but there were some Black ones, but there weren't. I love the fact that this is actually a real person.
Yes. And think of all the little girls who will now learn about her, but they learn about it and learn about her on their level. That's
so many ways to learn history these days. So many ways.
Absolutely. And you and I have lived long enough to sort of be part of history. To be part of history. I agree. That means that maybe some young people need to talk to some old chicks and some old guys, to learn a little bit more about their own history. That's wonderful. Okay. I look forward to reading it.
Good.
Well, this is one of my favorite segments because it's with one of my favorite little schoolgirls. We have with us today, I'm going to tell you first so everybody can get geeked and excited. We have Sybil Wilkes with us today. And Sybil Wilkes, as you know, is an icon in not just drive radio, but in radio. You will remember her from being the sane, literary, educated, sensible voice on Tom Joyner. I mean, truly, people sat there waiting. Okay, Sybil, come on, jump in there, Sybil. Come on, Sybil. And I met Sybil because she made it a point to get the Hand I Fan With on the air. And I'd never been on the Tom Joyner show before. And we loved each other right from the beginning. So I am pleased to have a real icon of the business, Sybil Wilkes, who now has also, we're going to ask her about her show called Sybil.
It's Sybil, right?
It's Sybil.
Yeah.
That's it.
On YouTube and Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
And right. Can I also add that people, not only did I look forward to Sybil's segment, but I knew the time slots. So I would just make sure that I was listening, because it was drive time. I was driving to work in DC or whatever city I lived in, but I would always know the time slot so I could be sure to catch them.
Oh, that's nice. That's
but
great.
Truly, I think Sybil may be one of my truly first good little schoolgirls. I mean, because she had done before. I'm not going to get soppy, okay? But she embodies everything that I love and admire and aim toward for African American women who are doing things. We're going to talk a bit about mentoring and and what we're all doing in the world. And what we really want is Wanda. This segment is called Wisdom from Sybil. We want to get some tips, some hints, some hacks. You've been around the business 2 or 3 times. Don't you think? I think you're on your 3rd revolution around the business. So we welcome Sybil. Sybil, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. I love you.
I'm so excited to be here with the greats. I adore you both. You know that. Tina, you and I go back, as you mentioned, the Hand I Fan With, and as a part of Sybil's book club and being on the Tom Joyner Foundation cruise and having great conversations over the years. And so, and Professor Wanda, I am totally geeked and such a fan of yours and your work and all that you have done as well. So the honor is truly mine to be here with you guys.
Thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
And I don't know what wisdom I can impart here because I look forward to your pearls.
Well, that's good. We're going to pull some wisdom out of you. So just sit back and relax.
Well, you're talking between the two of us. Ooh, and not even counting you, Sybil. We have like 100 years of editing and writing experience, and if we can't pull it out of you, nobody can. Even though we know you are a fine interviewer. We so look forward to you bringing some sense, and we're also looking forward to you bringing some sense in this time we live in, Sybil. So that's one of the things that we just wanted to talk about. One of the things that you have not only been around the business, all these 3 or 4 rotations, but you've reinvented yourself in different ways. And Wanda and I talk about this all the time on this podcast because we old chicks, you aren't one yet, but we old chicks are finding all kinds of ways to do different things. This is why this podcast came about, because Wanda and I were doing Zooms, putting together the meeting at the table. It's right over Wanda's shoulder. So Wanda, you want to get started after I? Yeah, thank you very much. You want to reach out and sort of prod Sybil a little bit with her wisdom?
I sure do. I was going to ask you about reinventing. You've been in the media business a long time, and these days, because of where we find ourselves with job layoffs, economy, pandemic, many young people are thinking about reinventing themselves. So I guess my first question would be, what would you say to somebody who's trying to reinvent themselves?
I would say that the most important thing that we can do in terms of reinventing ourselves, and especially if you're someone like me who early on, I had to be adaptable to change, and then you get into a routine and you become very comfortable in that. And so you have to get out of your own way. in a lot of instances. I'm a radio person. That is who I am, to my bones, to my soul. And this whole video thing, and having to put makeup on.
I know, right?
I'm like, really? Because in radio, the words are what are important to you,
and you can just show up, right?
And not have people critique you for the way you look. See, like goodness. I got a cap on today because I'm about to go get my hair done, but it's
and you
like
look adorable too.
Well, but thank you. But it's really important that we be open to the change that life presents to us and the opportunities, and also think out of the box.
When people, that's a wonderful phrase. When people say that, give me an example. Can you give me an example? When people say think out of the box, what does that mean? Especially for a young person, for a person my age trying to reinvent myself. Mm-hmm. What's the box? And
the box for us in from days past is doing a radio interview. Let's just start there. Okay. Now you've got to not only be good on radio, you've got to be good with video. So whatever form that is. And then you've got to consider social media, what an incredible role it plays in getting those larger audiences. And people will ask you in anything that you are going for, what's your social media presence? What's your footprint like in social media? Now, it may not be great, but you have to then go forward with that and say, okay, so there is obviously, everybody knows Facebook, everybody knows Twitter, everybody knows Instagram. Now there's TikTok and Snapchat came and went without us. And so you have to you just look at where you are and look at those things that are surrounding you, and you can see it outside of your box, but you have to be willing to, and I haven't gotten into the whole TikTok thing. I know that I have to, but I know that you just have to be a little bit more open than some of us are in terms of trying and experimenting. And as my mother used to say, that's why God made erasers. What's the worst that could happen? If it doesn't work, you just scratch it off and you keep moving. Of course, my mom was married 4 times. So that, that she really did live that.
She followed her own
She
rules.
really did.
Exactly.
She really did. But, you got to keep trying and keep going.
Before I retired from daily newspaper work, and I was interviewing lots and lots of people for jobs and doing career chats. One of the things that research told us was that this young generation, these millennials, are probably going to have not just 5 jobs, because I had more than 5 jobs, but 5 careers, perhaps.
Yeah,
they really are.
You mean in their whole lifetime? Yeah.
So I guess thinking outside the box is really good. Let me just say that one of the other social media platforms that I find helpful is LinkedIn. It used to be that LinkedIn was just a place to go find a job. And now people are putting their content on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that I'm building an audience there. I recently posted something that got more comments from LinkedIn than it did from Facebook.
Wow.
Which surprised me. It was
what's so important to say this, Sybil, is because it's a no-brainer for young people who are thinking of changing a career, but for older chicks, it's not the first thing that comes to mind. And then they think, oh, social media. And we were raised to be private, and so social media is the opposite of sort of how we are.
That is so true. That's
thinking outside the box. Some people just doing being on social media.
I can't imagine why people want to hear from me sitting inside of, looking at what I'm eating, for instance, which is not a pretty picture because my eating habits are so awful. But I just can't imagine sharing the things and because growing up, we don't talk about stuff like that. We don't.
No. It's so you talk about stuff like that now. You get 10,000 followers.
You get all the people in the world.
I mean, I go to a restaurant, before COVID, and the first thing I see is people taking a picture of what's on their plate. I'm like, really?
Well, now don't you see? I like looking at pictures of people's food. Now I'm the person that they're taking the picture for because I live. You both know that I live a very simple, quiet life. Away from
in your garden.
So yeah, and so when I see people out and about, that's how I live my life, you know. And the other thing is, I'm just thinking about what I'm doing for my career. Sometimes I have to either go out or look at TikToks, because I have to know, what are people even, to write fiction, what are people even thinking and talking about, what young girls wear and how they're wearing their hair. So you know, you do that. That's getting outside of my box, you know.
So that's really interesting, because I love taking pictures. I'm a photographer at heart. And so I will take pictures, not of the food, but, you know, standing in the Walmart line, there's a guy with his pants at his knees. That's amusing to me. Or, you know,
I've seen those. I know some of you do like those.
As we're gathering our food to begin the quarantine, you know, and a guy is standing there and all he's got is a 24-pack of beer. This is how he's going to start his quarantine. That's amusing to me. The actions of others are really what amuse me, and I like to post. But for me, I don't know what it is that would interest people. But you know, you get out there and you do what you got to do. And
it reminds me of the psychology class that I took in college. You know, thinking about how people react to things and thinking about life and thinking about interpreting what people are doing and why they're doing it and what that means about them. I mean, it really is a lesson in psychology.
It truly is.
Well, you know, all three of us are opinion shapers, you know, and so we are always thinking psychologically. We're thinking on different levels than other people think on, because we're writers, we're talking to people, we're convincing people, you know, changing their minds, and you got to be knowledgeable to do that. Okay, before we move on, this is so good. I'm going to ask. We have 2 points. This is mine for Sybil. If we're talking about reinventing yourself, going in a different direction, following your heart, what's the one thing that you say you should do? One thing you should not do?
Oh, following
your heart. Tell us what you should do.
You know what? I'm one who keeps my heart very close to me. And that one, you know, I have a small group of friends and circle and things like that. But the one thing is that if you are going to go for something, you know, and Professor, you know this when you, as a part of graduation classes and ceremonies, and they tell you, find a job that, you know, find something that you really love and you'll never work a day in your life. Be open to the possibilities of all that's out there. You may not have even had it in the 4 years that you're in college or 4 years in high school, but be open to the possibilities. And when you do go for it, it doesn't seem like it's so hard. It just, and because life is hard enough. And so going forward, look for those things that touch your heart, or the way that you want to extend yourself to touch others. It's really important to me that we, in this era of everybody being in it, once again, back in this box, and the way of thinking, and the hatred and the animus that exists in our society, we have to be the ones to shine a light on it, but also shine the light of goodness. And that's really important. That's what we try to do in our newsletter. To only What You Need to Know newsletter is about super serving the African American community and giving them the stories, telling them what's going on in not only in our communities but around the world, but also bringing some goodness and some positivity to their lives. And that's really important in this day and age.
You mentioned the newsletter. What exactly is that?
So we, before the Joiner Show ended, we were able to strike a deal with Reach Media, in which we would have a newsletter. It's called What You Need to Know, and we give you 5 stories that are out there that for the most part, apply to the African American community. That's what I learned from Tom, is super serving the African American community and through all of our efforts. And so we have 5 stories of politics. We have a coronavirus update, which we've been doing since the very beginning of this, you know, before it became what it is. And we also have social justice. We have some young people that are working with us on social justice stories, LGBTQ stories, as well as some of the other elements of the Joiner Show, which are the Little Known Black History Fact, and we have HBCU Corners, and health and wellness. That's really important to us, and some that's a part of our new objective that we're working on now too.
I love the fact that you said you have some young people working with you, and that you're focusing still on HBCU, something you've been doing a long time since the show. So I know we've all mentored young people in our respective fields. So in your mentoring, what does that look like for you? What do you do as a mentor?
You know what? It's really interesting because a lot of young people come up to me and say, "You've been a mentor to me for so long," and I didn't even know it. For a long time, it was just as you just not perform, but as you go through your day-to-day activities, and hold yourself to a standard, and encourage people, and tell them what you're doing, and don't be so covetous of what you're doing, and the success that you have.
I'm sorry. Don't be so what?
Covetous in terms of
Covetous.
holding
Okay.
on to those things and say, well,
Yeah,
I got here, you're here on your own, you got to get there on your own.
Okay.
That's not the way to live. And so I got to tell you, Professor, it's really about just setting the tone and the example for being a good person that your mom and dad wanted you to be. And
were you in Miami in 2019 at the NABJ, National
yes,
Black Journalists?
yes.
And Tom and I were inducted into the Hall of Fame. And my
Yes.
speech in accepting that award was, people are watching you.
Yes,
And there are people that I didn't even know who were watching me.
exactly.
And they tell me years later, I did this because I saw you doing it. So that's
right.
really good. You're right. That's a really good model, and something our old chick listeners need to know. You're absolutely right. Doing the right thing, doing what your parents taught you, because people really are watching. And if you're not just like Tina mentors, she calls them her little schoolgirls. She does it in a physical way because she gets on the phone and she talks to them and she reads their writing. But people are watching her because they're reading her writing, and then they're looking at her Instagram, her Twitter every day, because she's on that Twitter all the time. But people really are watching everything we do. So I love the fact.
You know what I'm thinking of, ladies. You know how your mother and your grandmother would say to somebody who was preaching love and Christianity and acting ugly, because I can't hear a word you're saying. Your actions are so loud, they're drowning out your words.
That's
and
right.
So it works the same way when you're doing good. Your actions are so, you said people come up to you too, Wanda, and say, you've been a mentor to me, and you don't even know them. You don't even know how you connected with them.
That's
but you know that your actions were so loud that you didn't have to say words to them. That's very good.
It's really imperative that we be ourselves, but also, because I think inherently we're good people, but we also have to create that path for others to follow behind, and to address the situations accordingly as we would, but also encourage them. Come on along. This is a fun ride. But here's some of the things, here's some of the tools you may need, but also just not necessarily do as I say, but do as I do. And I don't want to, say you got to do this.
Absolutely.
But if you're going to, I'm telling you, it's worked okay for me. It's been okay.
Wanda and I talk about all our little school girls and our mentees, and because they are such a big part of our lives, and we want it to be that way, and that's what we're hoping to give. But we've also talked about everybody is not your little schoolgirl. Yeah. Everybody's not for you, know. And what I've found is, and this is the truth, I have never had to go looking for any little schoolgirls or any mentees. They come falling right in your lap, and you know who they are. You know who's for you. Yeah. Oh gosh, this person needs some guidance in this, but I'm not for her. I'm not the one. So you have to be discerning as well.
Yeah. I got to tell you, we have a bit of a village with my girlfriends, and some of them have daughters. And so we have text chains, and we had a situation, and it wasn't a story that I thought was difficult for a young woman to handle. It was a medical story, but it wasn't. It didn't seem to be objectionable in any way, but she asked to be removed from the text chain. And so what I'm finding is that they're resistant to getting some of this getting in the conversation and taking in some of this knowledge. And I can't force her to stay on the text chain. I mean, she's a grown woman. She can go ahead and, say, screw you guys, I'm out of here, or whatever it is, take me out. But what's disappointing is that people get so indoctrinated to their own way of thinking. They don't want to be open to the possibilities of other ways of thinking. And if you see it on social media, then you know it's true.
Yeah.
And
No questioning, no research,
there's no looking at things from two perspectives. I remember one time Jay Anthony Brown and I were arguing about something, and I said, "Can't we disagree without being disagreeable?" He said, "No," and then he went right back into it. I think we can, but we also have to be open to other people having different ways of thought, different ways of living, and that can help us to grow.
Well, that's really hard. I address that a lot in my writing and the work I did in when I was in the newspaper business. I did workshops for people about honoring differences among us and getting to know people who are different. Whether that's
you talk about that, going to with your coworkers and whatever their preparations for holidays. It's
really important to understand different cultures and different ways of thinking. Not to mention, and I won't get into politics, but that's a whole nother story. But people really are resistant to that, and I'm so surprised. And unfortunately, I'm not sure it's changing somewhat with the millennial generation and the generation behind them, because they're going to school with different people. But on the other hand, I'm not sure enough of them are embracing those differences when they're not in school or when they're not on the job. Who are the people that they sort of hang out with the most? Is it people who look like them, who think like them, who live in the same neighborhood only, who go to, have the same religion, or are they really embracing change? One of the things I've said in some presentations is, I want to go to a synagogue. I just want to, because I live around Jewish people and I want to go to a synagogue. So I strongly urge that. And I'm glad you brought that up. You know what? Tina and I are self-described old chicks. We embrace that term. There's a word I use that Tina doesn't like, seasoned. So I'll just say we're self-described old chicks. When you become an official old chick and you got a little time to go.
Bless your heart.
What's that going to look like for you? Are you ever going to stop working? I mean, would you like to just go off and lay on a beach somewhere for like years at a time? Or do you think you'll just keep working for as long as God gives you the things to say and the mind to think
and the gifts to share? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that I can do it doing what I wanted to do many years ago. When I came home from college, the last quarter of my college career at Northwestern. And I came home and I told my mom, I am tired. I want to stop. I want to be a bartender and then I'll come back. And my mother said, okay. She said, you can do that on June 18th. It's like, that's random. And she said, that's the day after you will graduate from college and you can become a bartender. You can do anything you want, but you're going to get your degree. And so that has always stayed with me. I just love that, or working in a barbershop. I love the conversation. Really? I love the camaraderie of things like that. And so my ideal, Professor, is to go and to be near water. Whether it's a lake or an ocean.
But you live in the middle of the country right now.
I know. There are very few lakes in Dallas, Texas. But we got a couple. But go somewhere where the weather is great, to be near the water, and to have a bookstore / bar. So,
I vote for St. Simon's. Okay, I'm getting mine in first. Vote for St. Simon's, everybody. Oh man, that would be great.
I think I can stay in the whole conversation realm. We can have discussions over and have my favorite authors there to talk about their books. And you two will be the first. It's that kind of just gathering of people. I think that, that with a nice wine bar, or maybe something a little stronger. I like a vodka tonic every once in a while. But
it won't let me drink, so I can just sniff it.
Oh yeah, she just walk into the place, right? And start getting rowdy. She's getting rowdy on just taking the sniff of.
I've never gotten rowdy because I go to sleep before I get a chance.
That is true. I'm around him when she goes to sleep. Absolutely. Oh gosh. You know what you just said, so and I just thought about it, and I'm just throwing it out there. Wouldn't it be great if two old chicks and it's Sybil had a book club?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that we've gotten away from on It's Sybil, but I promise you that my best friend and my business partner, Yolanda Starks White, is always saying, we got to do a book club. We got to do a book club. And I feel kind of overwhelmed with all of the stuff that we are doing with the newsletter, with the regular YouTube and Facebook Live show. And now we've started on this project with the American Heart Association, where we're checking in and checking up for your health. And so there's a lot, but you just got to make time for those things that you love and that are important to you. And my love of books.
If both of these entities do it, then it'll be less. Many hands make less work, or whatever.
That's right.
That's right. It is. It's Sybil. Okay, I'm gonna be back with you on that. Okay.
That's a great idea. Hey, Sybil, we're getting toward the end, but I have a question because you just mentioned the bookstore, and my question is: you have a story to tell, and I tell this to people because I wrote my memoir, and I want other people. People need to know who we are and what we've done. So, is there a memoir in your future?
Folks like Tina and my best friend Yolanda want there to be a book out there. I'm reluctant. I don't know why. I don't know. I think that I can give it out in pieces and give, my history, like talking to you all, telling you about my family history with my mother, who, raised me as a single mother after my father passed away when I was a little girl. I think that there are all these stories that can be told, but I don't know that there is a book in me. And Yolanda wants to, let's just talk and let's, hear these stories and things like that. And so
there you go.
And let me say this: Tina McElroy Ansa pulled the book out of me. Literally pulled the book by listening to my stories and said, that's a story, that's a story, that's a story. So don't.
My favorite line is, did you write that down? Write that down? You know how you'll say something, because writers just have, a facility with words. And I'll be talking to my writer friends, and I realize after a while, you didn't write that down, did you? What? They'll say,
Tina,
oh my God, the best line I've ever heard from you.
I know.
Yeah. Every good writer needs a good editor. That's the truth.
That's true. That's true. And I tell my friends, especially those that, I didn't have any children, but my friends, as they were going through the childhoods with their little ones, and I was like, oh, did you write that down? Did you, you get, that's a great story to tell, or, for your memoirs, or for the stories of the books you're going to leave for your children. But I'm I'm not one to do it for myself. So, I need Yolanda to kind of pull those out.
You're not going to wear you down.
Two editors right here telling you have a story to tell. So just think about
you not only have a great story to tell, Sybil, you have a story to tell that I would read. Wouldn't you read it, Wanda?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm telling you, got two readers here who would absolutely, pick it up, pass it on to their friends. It would be a real gift to the world.
I think you and I are similar in that, I'm a private person also, and Tina is to a great extent. And in my memoir, I tried to, after I told the story of my family, I tried to focus it on my career. Now I'm thinking about going back. Okay, maybe it's time to tell some of those personal stories. So you really can separate those things. Do the professional thing first, and then see how comfortable you are later with some of the personal stories. So don't rule it out. Think about it.
I won't. I will never say no to it. A hard no. But it's a struggle for me, like you.
The other thing. So Wanda was asking about a memoir. I thought she was going to ask just about a book, because you also have so much to offer that has nothing to do with your story. Your memoir. But also has to do with your experiences and what you've done. I'm telling you, you know this better than I. The young people, young women, young men out there, millennials, they don't know. They have no clue. They don't know that they can even do it. They think they think they're inventing themselves every time they wake up.
And nobody's ever done this before.
you know what our one of our mottos is at Two Old Chicks? The babies ain't got to learn the hard way.
Okay.
We can kick down a couple of doors for them. I mean, why would you have information, direction, wisdom, and not pass it on.
Yeah, that's true.
That's who we are.
That's the worst thing that we could possibly do, Tina, is to leave this world without sharing
Right.
and without helping. You know, it's like that picture you see with one black man's arm holding with his hand and grabbing up another man. And I think it's called My Brother's Keeper. That would be the worst thing if we don't lift them up and share with them and make their roads a little bit easier for whatever it's worth for them.
Now, I hope everybody can see just how much joy doing this brings us. I mean, I'm just looking at all our faces now, and we've been talking about giving to people and showing people. It keeps you beautiful, keeps you young.
Yeah, it really does.
I believe you have really uplifted us, and I'm sure you've uplifted some of our listeners as they listen to this podcast. And I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. You're doing so much. You have reinvented yourself over and over. You are a role model just by watching you. And I just want to thank you for being with us today. And believe me, we will call you again.
I hope so.
We're gonna get this book club thing going, and it's not gonna be any heavyweight on you. We're gonna spread it all out.
Well, you know what? I loved being with you all, talking about meeting at the table, and so I look forward to our joining together again on a project. And you guys, you ladies are just such a wealth of information and such inspiration to me. And I really appreciate the friendships, and I'm just proud to know you, and I'm very honored to be here today.
Thank you so much. Now go get your hair done so you can be beautiful on your show this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
If I could just thank you all again, I really appreciate you. And please watch us on It's Sybil. We appreciate it. Facebook Live and YouTube Live. And we're checking in and checking up for your health. That's our new program and in which we look out for each other. It's Tom Joyner's Take a Loved One to the Doctor 2.0.
Okay, so tell us
your website.
I'm sorry.
Your website.
Sybil, at SybilWilkes.com. That's where you go to subscribe to our absolutely free newsletter. It'll be in your email box every Monday through Friday morning.
I get it.
Our YouTube and Facebook live show is Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. And on Thursdays, we are starting the check-in and check-up for your health initiative. And that is our physical, mental, and spiritual health as well.
Wonderful.
Thank you again. Thank you. Hope to see you guys soon in person.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Hugs and kisses. Real hugs and kisses.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye. Well, Wanda, before we close out this episode 2 of our new season of Two Old Chicks, we're going to drop some wisdom. It's been a familiar part of our program, and we're adding some new features to season 2, but we also want to keep the ones that our listeners have been telling us that they really like, and dropping some wisdom is one that our listeners have given us good feedback on. So we want to give you more of that. And we got nothing but wisdom, right, Wanda?
We got it. What's yours? What's your wisdom?
Well, it's interesting because my first wisdom was going to be Mercury Retrograde, which you and I talk about. Wanda did not know I had not heard of it and did not know about Mercury Retrograde. And I just ask all of y'all to look it up, and because Mercury Retrograde is sort of a time where things go quirky and backwards and that kind of thing. But as I was thinking about that, I thought, it'll be over on February 14th, I think, or somewhere. So I said, why even go into that other than to just mention it, to be careful. But what I really was thinking about is time. And I was thinking about what this last 2 years have kind of done to us, Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's made us gun shy. It's made many of us gun shy. You and I have done lots of things, during these last 2 years, published a book, Meeting at the Table, started our podcast, but there are a lot of people out there who really are skittish about moving on. And I just really want to drop some wisdom is that if you've done the work, and it just might be time right now. Now might be the time. Now is not the time to sort of pull back. I think now is the time to start that business. Now is the time to reach out to that person who you hurt their feelings and they hurt yours. I mean, it's just now. I think that now the young people say, take your shot. and it's, it's in, taking your shot with a guy, me taking a shot at, with a guy to see, if he's really going to be interested in me. But I want to tell our listeners to take your shot. Don't be skittish. We've had a hard time, but we're gonna be okay. So if there are any people who are thinking about doing something and they put it off, I would urge you to rethink that. Take your shot. Now's a good time.
When you said skittish and we, let's move on. I don't know. Somehow, whatever your first words were, it reminded me when the doorbell rang yesterday and this man was out there. And he was walking away from the door because I took a long time to get to the door because I really didn't feel like getting up from writing to go see who was at the door. But my dog kept barking and barking. I said, I better go see who this is. This is more than the UPS guy or the mailman. Yeah. So this guy was walking. So when he saw me come open the door, he started coming back toward me. And before he could get anywhere close, I said, stop right there. He said, I said, don't come any closer. Well, it turned out he's the exterminator. He was just calling to tell me that he was spraying outside the house, like he does every other month or so. Mm-hmm. But when you said that about
gun shy, is what
gun shy, that's the word. That was the first thing I thought about was this guy from the exterminator company walking toward me because I'm just still scared to be close to people,
Well, some gun shyness, I guess, is good. It's a protection, and I think that we all, know that. But I think we also know when it's more than that. When we say, I didn't used to think about that. I didn't used to do, and you have to sort of look at it, I think, and examine it and see if indeed, this is something that you've been doing and, you should take your shot. Yeah. You should be a little bolder. That's my wisdom. Be bold, even in these times that can be frightening.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. What about you, Mr. Wisdom?
Well, the other night, Tina, you and I were talking about pearls. Now, why are we talking about pearls? Okay, so we
got around the pearls.
We got around the pearls, and I have pearls. My husband gave me a string of pearls, a short string, just close around the neck. I think it was first Christmas. It might have been the second Christmas, but it was soon after we were married. So, I've had the same string of pearls I've been wearing for 45 years or so. Mm-hmm. But I keep the pearls on days that I'm working. I keep it on the desk at my office because when I have a Zoom, I put them on real quick because I think they bring light to my face.
They do.
And so, so the other night I was saying, I just got off a long Zoom call. I got to take off these pearls. And Tina started laughing and laughing. It was almost like, sometimes a woman might say, I got to take off this bra.
That's just what I thought about. Because, you and I call Zooms and our podcast bra and makeup.
Yeah.
Bra and makeup. But Wanda, you have on a beautiful, I think it was made by a local textile artist. You have a beautiful necklace on now. But because, one of the things that I said is that a bright scarf does that too. I have a red and a purple because that's my color scarf. Yeah. And so, sometimes even when you have on a t-shirt, sort of a t-shirt.
You can just cover it up and put the scarf on.
And also the bright color. You want a bright color because we're going to, to your face. You want to bring a bright color to your face. So that's a good one. But pearls, we're going to talk about pearls some more, huh?
Okay. Yeah, and then we were talking about pearls so much. I said, well, I don't know if young women have pearls. We are going to talk about pearls because the phrase "clutch my pearls" came up, and I said, I wonder if young women know what that is. So we probably need to have a little segment about pearls at some point.
I think we will. That sounds really good, really good.
Yeah. But I want to say this necklace, since you mentioned it. This necklace, my daughter Shelby and I went to Bluffton, South Carolina the day after Christmas, just because we like to go to Bluffton, and we went shopping and we went to some art galleries. We had lunch just to sort of, have a girls' day and hang out together. And we wandered into this gallery and this beautiful work by a woman who does textiles. She lives on St. Simon's Island. And so this caught my eye and I bought it. And her name is Margot Duke, and she's got a Facebook page and a website, so you can Google her. But I told her that I said, this looks like a podcast piece, so don't be surprised if you don't see it on a future podcast. So I'm sure she's going to be watching.
Oh, she should. It's really beautiful, and like you said, brings light to your face. I think that's a great thing. That's a great thing. Wanda, that's it for season 2, episode 2 of Two Old Chicks Who Know a Lot of Shit. We hope everybody enjoyed it. If you haven't already, as we ask you each episode, please follow us on Facebook and on Zoom. On Spotify and YouTube, and subscribe too as well to our podcast. And before we go, we want to remind you that we also have a book, Meeting at the Table, which Wanda has over her shoulder. It's a collection of
always
nearby. An essay, I have it here somewhere too. A book of essays. Wait a minute, there we go. The back part. A book of essays by African American women that really was created by Wanda and myself as co-editors in response to everything that was even beginning to come to the surface in 2020. And so you can purchase the book at downsouthpress.com. That's my publisher, downsouthpress.com. And we think that you will like it, and we think this also makes a great gift for the reader in your family.
Hey Tina, I just have to say this.
What?
I went to do an in-person book talk at a place here in Savannah the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took my books and I was at the table signing books, and people were lined up. They were buying the book. I was signing the book. I was meeting people. I was having a good time. And every other person was like, well, I want meeting at the table too.
All right. That's what we like to hear.
So unfortunately, I brought a couple of copies and I sold them, but I just packed my bag for my next presentation, which is going to be here in Savannah in early February. I just packed it up. I said, I better put some more meeting at the table in this bag.
I am so glad that it was eagerly sought after, and that you were smart enough to have some, with you. But I just want to say quickly, I know you enjoyed being out on the book tour. I mean, that's something that authors really, really, I know, have missed out on the last 2 years. It's a whole different experience, isn't it?
It really is. It's great to meet people and just take their questions and have just like a conversation in a room where we're together. We were safe, everybody in the room had on their mask while I was talking. I took mine off just for the talk, but they were way back at the other in a very large room, and they did temperature checks and they verified that we were all boosted. It was a place for senior citizens, so it's not surprising that most of the people were boosted.
Yeah.
But it was nice to be out there. So I'll be out there again early February. And then I've got at least 2 book festivals coming up in the spring that I may be traveling for. So, we have to see how things go, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah. We'll, as my sister used to say, we'll jump off that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah. So listen, everybody, it's been great talking to you again. We'll see you soon. And it's time to say bye-bye and love.
Love and peace.